Hello everyone, welcome to this Tuesday evening, which and this is actually week 4 now. I can't believe we're 4 weeks into a 6-week series, and here's Sue. Hi Sue.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, it's Tuesday.
It is, and we come together on Tuesdays, don't we?
I love it. I love a Tuesday. I get so excited. I'm like, yeah, it's Tuesday.
So what have you been up to today?
Well, I've actually been speaking to some fabulous people from a law firm. One has lots of legal knowledge and one has lots of midwifery knowledge. And this topic that we're talking about tonight is actually quite timely because they were telling me about their experiences of effectively communicating with healthcare professionals. So I'll talk a bit about that later. It'll come through the different themes that we're going to talk about. But I've had a great week. I've had a brilliant week. My son went to an event literally just down the road in Addlestone last night, and he got to meet his hero, Theo Walcott, who is an ex-Arsenal player, for those who don't know.
Yes, yeah, oh, sorry, I know that, yeah.
Oh, you do know that?
Yeah, I'm a football fan, yeah.
Oh, right, and he was lovely. He was so lovely. You know, they say don't meet your heroes.
Yes, they do sometimes, don't they? Yeah.
They do, but he was so lovely. So he's absolutely buzzing. He's made up. That's completely made his week. And Thursday night I went to London. I went to the theatre with my friend. Had a lovely evening, but when I got home, I realised I'd left my phone on the train.
Let's turn it up this way. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no! Oh my God!
Disaster.
Oh no!
Yes, but it does have a happy ending, thankfully. The next morning, because I didn't get in till midnight, the next morning I was thinking, right, what on earth am I going to do? Because I can't communicate with anyone. I only had email. So I got my iPad and I tried to use the messages. I tried to use the phone. No, it wouldn't have it. But there was a button on there called Find My Phone.
Yes, I've got that. Yes, yeah.
I never set it up, but I pressed it
Yeah.
and it said my phone was in the Woking area somewhere, which is literally 10 minutes from me, and it's the end of the train line.
Right.
So I watched it for a while to see if it moved.
Yeah.
It didn't. So I jumped in the car, I drove to Woking station, I prayed all the way.
Yes.
And the whole team was so helpful, and it happened to be in the lost property of Woking
Oh
station.
my God, you were
I
lucky.
know, I got it back at 9 a.m. the following morning.
And it's like cutting off your right arm, isn't it, when you haven't got your phone?
That really scared me actually, because
Wow.
my whole life is on the phone. I'm thinking, how am I going to do this evening with you without my phone? My diary is on my phone. It's messaging everybody as well. It's keeping up with communication with my family, with my colleagues, with my children. And so yes, it was panic station.
Gosh, you got lucky. I suppose we all put our eggs in a basket, don't we, with our phones? I mean, it just feels so terrible. I remember I lost my phone at a Robbie Williams concert in
Oh,
Milton Keynes in the rain, and it fell, it dropped on the ground and goodness knows what. So that was that. And then suddenly someone rang it to say, we've got your phone, and I'm in a hotel. So the next morning, because we couldn't go, in the evening, it was 12 o'clock and it was late and raining and all the rest. And they just had to put it behind the reception at the hotel. So there are a lot of good people around, aren't there?
there really are. Yes, so I'm so thankful that someone handed it in. So it's just you just feel it's an absolute miracle when you get it back. But it's a lesson learned. So I'm going to have to back everything up onto my
Yes,
iPad.
yes,
And my friend told me today actually about WhatsApp on the computer.
yes.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
download that onto my computer, so then at least I have
And
that as
OneDrive,
well.
Drive. Have you got that? I left my laptop out in the rain. I'm writing a new book, and I left it out in the rain because I went off to cricket, and it was sunny when I left, and it had been sunny for a few days, and then it came out of the heavens, and I, for some extraordinary reason, had left it out in the garden. So OneDrive backed up everything, and that saved me. And they were able to get all my data. So there is a God sometimes for some of this. Now look, we must crack on
We
and
must.
help the people that have turned up here to discover what we're going to help them with today. So do you want to lead on with what we're up to today?
Yeah. Yes, so tonight's topic is all about effective communication with the healthcare team because I think it can be a bit daunting sometimes when you're, with a healthcare professional. It can feel quite intimidating because obviously they're the experts, they know a lot more than you. And so it's just finding, we've got some really good tips on how to communicate, how to get your preferences over, and also, advocate for yourself. If something doesn't quite feel right or you want a second opinion, then we're here to support you and give you the different resources and tools that you can use to help you do that, basically. So that's this session in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
Good, 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 good. So, what are the main tips, to be prepared for appointments? What do you think? How can parents and mums and dads get prepared for the appointments?
So, for general appointments, it's really good to jot down anything that has been bothering you or any questions you may have about anything, any aspect of your healthcare. Write it all down and take that list with you. Obviously, that doesn't apply if it's sort of symptoms that you're experiencing or anything like that. Never wait till the next appointment. Always pick up the phone and speak to them straight away. But any sort of general queries or to talk about your plan, write it all down, and then you can go armed with your questions. Otherwise, you come out the appointment, you're like, oh, of course, I've got
Yeah.
to ask that.
Yeah.
And you can write everything down whilst you're there. If you've got it in your phone, in the notes, or you've written it on a piece of paper, then you can write down all the answers, and then you can digest all of that information later when you're back at home, because your maternity team is always there, to help and support you. And that will help your partner as well, because if they've seen all the questions that you've written down, they can help capture the answers as well, and you can go through that together when you're back at
And
home.
no question is silly. I mean, every question is valid because it's your question and you haven't maybe done it before, or it's a bit different this time. And your healthcare professional accepts all of that and is willing and able to help you. So never be shy to ask. It doesn't make you look weak or anything. It makes you look empowered, if anything else.
Exactly. Help, that's what the healthcare professionals there to do. Yes, okay, they do this day in and day out, but they know that you don't.
Yeah.
This is a once in a lifetime thing
Yeah.
that you're doing. So, of course, ask everything and make sure you understand everything. I know we talked about this on a
Yes.
previous week.
Yeah.
But even if they've answered the question, ask again and ask again, so
Yeah.
you really fully understand all the tests that are happening, because you'll be so much more in tune with your body, and you'll be able to recognize any problems if you fully grasp and understand the care that's happening for you.
Yeah, and it's also important that you don't appear to pretend that you know stuff that you perhaps don't know, because that really doesn't serve you at the end of the day, pretending that you know it all or pretending that you've understood it. So it's about clarity too, isn't it? And people don't mind repeating it in a different way, perhaps. So it's there for clarity, really, I think, as well as anything else.
Absolutely. And you can ask as many times as you like. You can keep asking. In another appointment, you can ask the same question. It's unlikely that they'll remember that you've asked it before.
So what about preferences? I mean, where do they come from? I mean, is that because people have read around it or they have their own ideas around their preferences? Like their pregnancy birth plan or their postnatal period or whatever it might be. How do people get kind of to plan that? Where can they go and find some good stuff to help them?
Yes, so on the Mama Academy website, we do have a page about how to write a birth plan.
Yeah.
And there's lots of things to consider that you might want to include within that.
Right.
But you can also talk to your maternity team about it as well. Speak to your midwife, speak to your GP, speak to your consultant if you have a consultant, because obviously it's all very personalised to you and what your options are as a parent. So yeah, discuss it with them and then write it all down and hand it over when you get to that point to make sure that that person caring for you that day reads it.
So, what sort of tips would you say? What goes into a birth plan then that makes it
Um,
specific?
so if you're having a C-section, for example, you might want to choose your choice of music that you take into the theatre with you. You might want to have skin to skin once your
Yes.
baby is born, which is very important.
Right.
Especially if you know that your baby's got to be taken into the neonatal unit straight away. You know, they might have discussed that with you. That might be something that's got to happen.
Right.
So again, there will still be options and choices around that. You still might be able to have a few moments with your baby before they take them down. Cutting the cord. Who's
Oh,
going to cut the
oh,
cord?
all right.
Um,
Yes.
there's different options for pain
Yes.
management.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Do you want to
Pain
talk us
management.
through? Yeah, a couple of
Um,
those.
so you might want a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, because again, you're fully entitled to change your mind whenever you like. Um, so yeah, there is lots of different options that you can think about. There's optimal cord clamping as well, which we've also got on our
What
website.
does that mean? Can you explain that?
So sometimes, so some trusts are absolutely fantastic in providing you with this information,
Right.
and other trusts not so much. And again, it just depends on their resources and the staff time that they have to spend with you. But optimal cord clamping is when your baby is born, they don't clamp the cord straight away.
Right.
They wait for a couple of minutes for all the blood to flow through the placenta
Yeah.
into the baby, because that then sets the baby up for life with lots of different stem cells and nutrients and all that sort of thing. So it's called wait for white. They wait for that cord to be
Yes.
white, to have drained all the blood,
Yes.
and then they cut it. And it only takes a couple of minutes.
Yes.
So that can be really beneficial. So again, it's discussing that with your healthcare team and seeing if that is an option for you. So yeah, there's lots of information on our website, obviously, about different options. So go and have a look on there when you're considering putting your birth plan together, and
Yes.
pain management as well. Again, there's different
Yeah.
options.
Yes, yeah, because it does depend sometimes on the time of year. I had it down that I was going to go for an epidural in the second for my second birth, but they said, "Oh, it's so busy. Obviously, we just don't have it." So off we go with gas and air again. So you have to be flexible, don't you? You don't get your mindset too, kind of. You got to be flexible. You mustn't get too focused on what you think exactly it's going to be and what exactly you want. But as we said many times, it is about having some sort of gist of it and having some sort of ideas, and then being flexible on the journey, as in the moment, really.
Yeah, because at that time, if you're offered different things, if you don't know what they are, and the pros and the cons of each of them, then you can't make an
Yes.
informed
Yeah.
decision. So that's
Yeah.
why it's always best to look into these things and find out what everything means and the pros and cons beforehand. Because when you're sat there and you've suddenly got to make a decision, it's very hard to arm yourself with that information at that point.
What's your advice around, being thinking about emergency situations that might happen? On the other hand, not scaring yourself to death. Where do you sort of advise parents and mums on this?
So again, it's just being prepared,
Yeah.
which is a really good skill that you're going to need when you're a parent anyway. We have to be so organised and prepared for absolutely everything. Our bag is just full of plasters and whatever else. So yeah, so it's just being prepared. So each hospital will have a different procedure. So always ask them what number you need to call in each circumstance. Usually they will have an early pregnancy unit, which is for you in an emergency situation if you're under 16 weeks. They will recommend that you go there. They'll actually sort out that arrangement for you. Out of hours, if it is a real emergency, then there's obviously A&E. But there should be a general triage number for your hospital,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's the one you should call. So if you are, you could be anywhere. You could be visiting a friend, you could be in Tesco's,
Yeah.
and suddenly you
On
feel you're going,
holiday even. Yeah.
yeah, you could be on holiday. If your waters break, if you think you're going into labour, then it's always good just to have a plan so you know what number you need to call at that time, or your partner is in their
Yes.
phone,
Yeah.
they know what number they need to call, in case anything happens, and then you've got that security, that backup plan. And also, if you've got other siblings as well,
Yeah.
it's having a plan in place, for childcare in
Yeah.
case they be looked after. But yeah, check with your hospital to see what their policy is, and to see what their out of hours policy is. But there should always be a member of the maternity team for you to contact day and night.
So what if you've written your sort of birth plan, you filled it all out, you thought it's all kind of covered, and then you read something or you watch something or you talk to someone and you think, oh no, I want to change it. How do you, what do people feel around that if you want to change your thoughts around what you've written?
Yeah, of course, it's absolutely fine. And healthcare professionals are used to things being changed, and you may find that things change for you during your pregnancy. You could be low risk, but then suddenly something will come along where your blood pressure is quite high, and so suddenly you're very much at risk of preeclampsia. And so then your plan would have to change, because they might then be talking about, okay, we may have to deliver the baby early. This is what's going to happen. So whenever you want to change your mind, you can always do that. You can talk to your maternity team at any point, and that's absolutely fine. And have a two-way discussion.
Yes.
Discuss with them what you've seen online or what your friends have done, or and really talk that through, because like I said, it is all about individualized, personalized care. So what may have really worked well for one parent may not necessarily be the best thing for you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I always talk about keeping a record.
Yes. Tell me a bit more about that. Sort of tracking what your symptoms or your weight or your blood pressure or what?
Yeah, so keep a record as much as you can, of these things. I mean, mainly the healthcare professionals do that.
Yes.
They either write it in your handheld notes, or it's done on the digital record system. But I would say any discussions or any consent, any choices that you've made and that you've relayed that to your team, keep a record of it, document everything, because that may come in handy, in the future. Um, Sometimes it's even handy to have a screenshot of the call log of any calls that you've made to the hospital, because
Okay.
sometimes, sadly,
Yeah.
not every call that goes through triage is documented.
Right.
And
That's
so
important then, isn't it?
yeah, if you ever want to make a complaint, or
Yeah.
you want to say, I don't think this was done in the
Yeah.
right way, especially if you want the trust to learn lessons, because these reports are coming through the news and the media
I know I didn't
constantly.
want to scaremonger, but yeah, I read
You
them and heard some of them.
you can't shy away from it. It's
Yeah.
it's in the news every week, unfortunately, and it's not. There's no one to blame necessarily. It's not a blame culture here. It's just unfortunate circumstances where the environment in which staff are having to work, the resources which they've got, they might have a particular crazy busy shift where everybody's just decided to go into birth all at the same time.
Yes.
These things do happen. And so, yeah, if you document everything and you keep a record of who you've spoken to, what you've said, any calls that you've made, then that can really help afterwards. Hopefully,
Gosh.
you'll never need
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
just
No,
in
of
case you
course.
do, then
Yeah,
you've
it's
you've
worth
got all
just
that there.
thinking about, isn't it? It's quite important just to ponder that and think about it, because if you're prepared, then it's, 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. But if you haven't even thought about it, you can't go back and undo something if you haven't done it.
Exactly, exactly. And talking about preferences,
Yeah.
there's lots of different ways in which you prefer to receive information and updates, because we all
Yes.
process things
Yes.
differently,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially if there's a language barrier or
Yes.
a certain disability where we need things in a larger font, for example. Oh,
Yeah.
we've just got Laura join and Andy. Hi, Laura and Andy. Um, yeah, so that's really important to tell them how you would like to discuss things and have updates. Whether you prefer extra appointments, if that's possible, whether you prefer phone calls rather than emails, if you do need things in a different font, if you need an interpreter, um, they should be there to support you and they should be able to provide that to you. So don't be shy and fearful of telling them what your needs
Yeah.
are.
Yes, that's very important, actually, isn't it? Because we all have a preference, whether it could be emails or whether it's texts or whether it's phone calls or in person or a mixture of all of them, really.
Yeah, it all helps us process everything, doesn't it? Because our brains all work in different ways and help us process things differently. And if some people are very visual,
Yes.
so they might prefer more images and graphics and
Yeah.
infographics, for example,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas others would prefer texts
Yeah.
and calls maybe because they hear things better over the
Yes.
phone, might prefer
Yeah.
more audio. So that is again a choice that you
So
can
how
relay to
often do
the.
you get tested, and then how can you make sure if you haven't heard back, when is the sort of time for kind of chivvying people up or panicking or getting cross?
Yes, so the time frame is very good, and again, that's on our website. It tells you what to expect and when. So, what are the
Right.
key
Yes.
appointments that you should have throughout your
Yes.
pregnancy,
Yeah.
the blood tests that you should be having and what they test for, and how often those follow-ups are. And again, you can contact your maternity team at any time. You don't have to wait until the next appointment. So if you think you're going too long because you are worried about your blood pressure or you are worried about protein or something like that, you can just contact them and they'll get you to
So
come
how
in.
many tests do you expect to have in the 9 months?
Well, again, that's difficult to say because it's personalized. You have two standard scans.
Yeah.
So for a normal standard pregnancy, you would have your 12-week scan, and that's where certain screening takes place. So it's very important that you have that scan. So if you have registered with a midwife and you haven't had your booking appointment come through by 10 weeks,
Yes.
then contact
Right.
them because they
Right.
need to see you. You need to have a booking appointment around that time to do the initial screening
Yeah.
tests.
Yeah.
And then your first scan is at 12 weeks and they do certain screening then, and then they do further screening at the 20-week scan. So those are the most important
Right. Yeah.
appointments to make sure you have. So again, if something hasn't come through, speak to your maternity team. If you haven't got a contact for them yet, then obviously go back to your GP and they'll be able to give them a nudge for you.
Yeah, that's important, isn't it? To get the idea of where the milestone moments sort of are. I know they're different, but there are some really important ones that you don't need to miss. You need to be on top of, really, don't you?
Yes, definitely. And it's always good to be honest
Yeah.
with your healthcare team as well. They've seen it all. They've dealt with it all. There's no point in not being honest with them and telling them your current situation, because they're there to support you. There's
Yes.
so much support out there, that they can signpost you to.
So yeah, I mean, if you struggle with anxiety or sort of mental health anxiety around, just generally, or you suffer from anxiety about your living situation, a cost of living crisis, or your partner or something, is that something that you disclose to your health visitor, your health care provider?
Yeah, definitely, because again, they know of all these different places that can help. We've got a maternity directory on our website, and that's got a list of local baby banks on there, for instance.
Yeah, that's helpful.
So yeah, so if you are struggling
Yeah.
financially, Uh, the midwives can point you to that, and you can find where your local baby bank is, and that can really help with certain equipment and things like that.
Yes, yes,
Um, they know what benefits and things you can get. They can issue you with certain vouchers, so you can go to your local food bank. Um, but also, if you smoke and you're finding it really hard to
yes,
cut down on
yes,
smoking,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
smoking support services that they can direct you to. Um, there's different mental health services that they can direct you to. So it's really important to be honest and open
yes, yes,
with them. And if you don't feel like you're being listened to, or if you don't feel like you're being treated in a respectful way, then it's so important that you go and that you speak up and you say something and you ask for a second opinion, or you go and speak to the head of midwifery.
yeah,
So when I was speaking to this legal team earlier today, they were telling me
yeah,
of a story of a lady that wasn't being treated well at all, and unfortunately, she had the same member of staff that she was seeing at all of her appointments.
right,
And so it just never got any better. And
yeah,
so then the care that she received during labour was just appalling.
oh,
um, and you just wish, oh, if only she could have said something or spoken to the head of midwifery, and all she needed was a change of staff.
yeah,
She just needed to be appointed a different contact, and that would really have helped her. So yeah, always speak up, and don't be embarrassed as well. Heard another story earlier of people that are very embarrassed, and talking about communication. Midwives are so busy, and they might come around and see you at any stage, especially postnatally, and they might say, "Oh, can I just check your stitches, or can I check this, or can I check that?" But wording it in that sort of way, we could just say, "Oh, no, I'm fine, thanks." Do you know what I mean? No, you're all right.
right, yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's quite embarrassing, and you might think, well,
yes,
I haven't had a
yes, yeah,
shower or whatever it is. But actually, they should be giving you full information so that you understand just how important it is that they do check you, they do take your bandage off or whatever, and they check things, because if you have an infection or something, it
yeah,
could turn really nasty. And again, it's about looking after yourself. We're so focused on the baby, and is the baby okay, and is the baby putting on weight, and is the
yeah,
baby feeding. And when a midwife says, "Oh, should I check you?" We're just like, "Oh, no, no,
yeah, I'm
I'm
all
all
right.
right."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
worry about me.
Yes. And also, is
Um,
there a cultural thing there as well? Some
yes.
mums from different cultures may feel more embarrassed than others. I mean, how do you make sure that perhaps you have a maternity person that is of your culture or not? You just have to sort of, they're trained, aren't they, to be supportive and nurturing of everybody's differences.
Yeah, definitely. And that should come up right at the beginning. That should come up at the booking
Yeah,
appointment.
yeah,
You can tell them your cultural preferences. You can tell them your religious
yeah,
beliefs, because that's very important. That might determine your choice of pain relief,
yes,
and
yeah.
other lots of other options as well. So it is important to get that across. And again, you don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed, or we all have different
Yeah,
beliefs,
of
we all have different
course.
faiths, we all have
Yeah.
different lifestyles. And your maternity team there should be there to support you and nurture that and walk with you. So they might be from a different faith or a different culture or
That's probably
ethnicity.
why being part of a community locally as well, with people of around you that support you in your cultural ways of doing things, can be an extra support, can't they, as well, outside of your actual maternity interviews and times with your provider. I mean, having friends and family and interesting people around you that understand you can make you feel quite supported and nurtured, can't they?
Yes, definitely. There's lots of toddler groups,
Yeah,
etc., where you can meet other ones, and if you
yeah,
go to
yeah.
somewhere in your community or your local church or whatever it is, then
Or
you get to
does
meet.
the library have up lists of that kind of thing, those sorts
Yes,
of groups?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. and if you are on social media, they pop up all the time at different groups in your local area, don't they? But it's about supporting each other. And if you are part of a culture that can't discuss certain things like that, we really need to try and talk about it more and try and raise awareness more to say, actually, this is okay.
Yeah. And you're not alone.
You're
That's the
not
main
alone.
thing.
You're
Yeah.
not alone, and
Yeah.
you do have rights. You can request somebody else. You can request a female
Yes.
healthcare professional. Thankfully, the majority of them, are female. They're usually female midwives or female health visitors, but obviously some are male, and you can request someone else. So yeah, whatever your preferences are, just don't be embarrassed, and speak up, because they are meant to be there to help and support you.
So tell us about what's going on your website now, because it's just so wonderful with so many different things. What sort of aspects today do people need to go and have a look at, or even not for today, even what we've been talking about in the last few weeks? Tell us about what's going on your website.
Well, it's all about raising awareness of everything. It's all about empowerment. So we've got lots of different pages on there now. There's
Yeah.
actually a specific page for black and brown skinned
There
parents.
you go. See, this is what I'm trying to tease out of you. Get the
Oh,
detail.
yes, so do check that out.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, that's wonderful. Carry on.
Yeah, they're unfortunately, they're at higher risk of poorer um, birth outcomes. So go and check that out. There's loads of
Yeah.
information on
Yeah.
there for you. There's advice on how to advocate for yourself and things like that. We've also got a new page on there of how to recognise jaundice
Oh,
in newborns,
interesting. Yeah,
because again,
my son had that when he was born.
really, so again, it can be harder to detect if you're only looking at skin colour.
Yes.
It can be harder to detect in black and brown skin babies. So there's other ways of doing it. You look in the eyes, you can look in
Yes.
the mouth.
Oh, right.
So yeah, so that's on our website as
I
well.
didn't
So
know about the mouth. That's interesting. I knew about the
yeah,
eyes.
yeah. So because we've all got different coloured skin, it is very hard
Yeah,
to
of
detect.
course. Yeah.
So that's on there. We've got a new page about symptoms of sepsis, and there's a new
Right.
page all about informed consent and how to
Right.
give your
Ah,
consent.
that's important. Yeah.
Um, and we've got our helpline,
Yeah.
obviously, which is um, all about anxiety. Any anxiety you feel, we've got a helpline. And we've also got our Academy Awards
Yeah,
coming up.
I saw that. Tell us a bit about that.
So we've just spoken about some of the barriers and the difficulties that staff face in the NHS, but there's also some amazing work taking place. There are some fabulous midwives out there that really go above and beyond. So the Academy Awards is to celebrate our NHS maternity heroes, basically. If you go onto the webpage, there's 10 different categories.
Wow.
And you can nominate anyone in the maternity sector, basically, whether it's a student
Yeah.
midwife, any healthcare professional. So that could be a maternity support worker, a breastfeeding support worker, anyone. There's a business of the year, so anyone that's developed a innovative product to do with maternity services. It's all on
Yeah.
there. And then the shortlisters will be nominated in the next few weeks. They'll be notified, and then everybody finds out on the 19th of November who has won.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Celebrating excellence and kindness and going the extra mile is wonderful, because so often people do these things and they're unsung. So it's really nice to honour them, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And I get so emotional reading through all the nominations, you can imagine. I mean, there's just some incredible stories on
Oh
there.
wow,
But I think we've already had about 120 nominations already.
that's
Um,
fun.
so yeah, I think we've got another week to go until they close. And then yeah, that's going to be my evenings going through all the nominations. But I just love it. It's such a celebration of
Yes,
what's happening, and
yeah,
there
lovely.
are some amazing people out there, so they deserve to
So if
be
people
recognized.
have got anybody, they need to go over and nominate, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we're soon going to be having a page on our website full of these lives. So if you've missed any, you can catch up on them all. And we've put together some scripts haven't we? You've written some
Yes.
fabulous scripts,
Yes.
Sue, that can help women um, talk to their healthcare professionals about getting a second opinion, or about changing their pain relief, etc. That's all on there. So that will also
Excellent.
be on that page as well for people to use.
Well, we must remember to ask you because you're such a wonderful resource, and there's all this stuff happening every week. That's why I thought I'd ask you because you forget because you're dealing with it every day.
I
You
know.
forget how wonderful all these new pages are, all this information is. It's so accessible. It's not scary. It's just wonderful. So thank you for all the things that you do.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Well, I just, yeah, I'm just so passionate about
Yeah.
supporting women because it's just such a special time,
Time.
such an
Yeah.
essential
Yeah.
time in our lives.
Yeah.
It has such a knock-on effect, doesn't it, for how we bond with our babies, and in fact, we're talking about that next week. Yeah, it's just really important. So it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to do what I do. Oh, hi, Kerry. Kerry's joined us as well. So thank you so much, Sue.
That's all right. Pleasure. Been lovely to hear all these sorts of ideas this week. Bonding with baby next week, my husband's birthday actually. So it's a good job we're going out on the Sunday, not on the Tuesday for dinner, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. I don't think you'd be too popular.
I'd have to pull out on that one otherwise. So I've done something very nice for him on the Sunday, and it's my daughter's celebration. We're all meeting up tomorrow. It's her big birthday, and she's got a big bash on Saturday, and then her actual birthday's next week as well on the 3rd of October. So it's always very busy. And then my son's birthday's in November, so it's quite an expensive time, but exciting time. And
Definitely.
because my daughter's 30, we've got all sorts of surprises.
Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. Oh, that will be brilliant. Brilliant. You'll be exhausted
Of
next week then.
course, but it'll be wonderful. Celebrations, you can't beat it, can you? So
No,
thanks for
no.
tonight. It was great and very interesting, and hope people found it helpful. Do tell your friends to join us next week, same time, same place, and go to the website when these are all up, and you can look at them at your leisure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next
Take
week.
care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.